Live from the Seminary Drive complex in Baltimore, Maryland, you're listening to InfoWarlocks with Sam Kelly. There's a war for your magic.
Yes! That sounded so professional. Oh my God, thank you. Yeah. This is Jimmy Selesky.
What up?
This is Charlotte D.
What's up?
How do you say your last name again? I'm sorry. It's very Italian sounding.
Dicentra.
Dicentra.
Fun fact, is actually the Latin name for bleeding heart flowers.
Fuck yeah.
Like the scientific name.
That's awesome. This is Kaelin Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Your guys' name means like awesome stuff. Like your name means like bloody emo flower. Like that's my vagina right now.
I feel.
And Kayla's name means key and stuff. It's
right?
Like, my name means listener of God. Like
fair.
That's cool.
You know.
No.
You're like, that is not cool.
I can't even get God to listen to me or this podcast I'm listening to.
Maybe it's just like listener of the universe.
Yes.
Just change it.
I was going to say, because I was thinking about it on the way here, if you look at all the religions of like, all the big top dudes of religions, whether it be Jesus or Zeus or Odin, they're all fucking assholes who got like that like superiority complex because they're in charge. Like that's literally all of them.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's legit.
Why do you think that like in the Christian Bible, like they never really go into God fucking Mary, like how it happened, but they totally do in Greek mythology and
right. Right. Well, I mean, much like Greek mythology, I think all religions are. They just couldn't keep it in their pants.
Yeah.
Like,
Fair.
But we have like, I mean, most people worship the sky daddy, you know, but I work with the earth mommy. Like, that is,
love it.
Yes,
love it.
Absolutely.
Why do you guys think that men like represent the earth? I mean, the air and the sky, and then women represent like dirt.
Because we're on top.
Yeah.
You know, like if you imagine the sky fucking the earth missionary, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why it's called missionary.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I think it's just because men are. Honestly, I just think it's because men are full of hot air.
Oh.
So like,
That's a greater
you know.
point.
I mean, have you seen stand-up comedy? Like,
I have. I don't know if you've been there.
yeah, it's. Woo.
Yeah,
Be able to power a blimp with the amount of hot air in an open mic.
Like we actually met at church, right? Like
Yeah.
all of us are like
At church.
Yeah. We have to go to that sermon tomorrow, by the way.
We do.
the
We
church
do.
is satire.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bow down to Brandon Fusen and Tom Nutty. Fucking.
No, do not
Don't-
let them hear
don't
this,
at all.
you guys. Do not let them hear that.
Right.
That's all we need. They'll be like, yes, bow down, bitches.
And by the way, you're welcome for the free promo.
yes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But what I like about Darnell is that he does jokes about being bisexual and like blue collar
Yeah.
kind of rooms and.
Oh yeah, no, he's super chill. I was gonna say, I hope your editing finger is itchy because
None of this is yeah.
I'm going
Fair
crazy
enough.
right now.
look, if you get taken off the internet, it's not my fault.
Are we not supposed to cuss?
Well,
Oh my God,
not even
no.
so much cussing, but like I know me, and I say certain things the internet's not a fan of.
Oh.
Go
So-
no. Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
originally wanted
I need a list of things I can't say.
Well, you're not allowed to make fun of men in my studio. That's the thing.
You're not.
All right, well then I guess I'm done.
We're out.
Yeah. Guess we smoke a little too much of that weed over there. Well,
That
high and
crack
mighty.
weed.
Yeah, this is like a good number. Like this is the first time that I think we've outnumbered.
Yeah,
Men, like,
I am totally outnumbered. Right
And it's a full moon. Like this is like
Yeah.
coven energy. Like
It
You're
is.
getting
crazy.
sacrificed tonight.
You
I
are.
hope you know that.
I hope you were ready.
The doors are locked. You're not going anywhere.
I'm officially out of my comfort zone. This is
And the first thing to go is going to be the dick.
Charlotte's not a fan of those.
No.
Unless it's the big black plastic one.
Oh, really?
Look, it's in my car. I can go and get it.
She's always prepared.
Do you have a way to blur like a dildo out with editing? It's like I put it on TikTok.
No, but I do have one somewhere around here. But I don't know where it is.
I do have a big black dildo, though.
I do. Well, Matt Brown records here. Of course I have one of those.
Oh, fair. No, I can see just the blur, and it's just a black stick, and it's like, we all know what it is. Why are you even bothering?
We just fill in the gaps with our
Right.
own minds.
I know, like kids on TikTok, like the way that it's censored, it's like, have you seen what fucking kids are like doing on TikTok? And
Have you
shit?
seen what kids done forever, but people still want to act like they're innocent?
True,
Like-
true. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in mom mode. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My baby could never. Meanwhile, your kid's looking up 50 guy cream pie in the middle of the night when you're sleeping.
I also
Like-
think that people forget like what they looked up as children.
Right.
Like what kind of shit were we looking at like 12? And then we're
Right.
like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, no, like I was looking up naked lady titties and like vaginas and
Naked
fucking.
lady titties.
And I mean, shit. I don't know.
The #1 search
Right.
of all time.
And I mean, shit, I don't know about y'all, but my generation, we had the unhinged version of the internet where we had 2 girls, 1 cup, one
Oh,
man,
yeah.
1 jar,
Yes.
BME
Yes.
Pain Olympics.
Oh, my
like,
God.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I never
Mr.
saw the
Hands.
Pain Olympics.
Oh, honey.
That's the worst one. That's
it's,
the worst
it's
one.
genuinely, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
guy legitimately cuffs off his dick and his balls, like, with a hatchet. It's whole.
What one is this?
Wait, I thought
No,
that was
like
the
that-
horse one, dude.
That's Mr.
Well, no, I
Ham.
think-
And he didn't
Like-
even win the Pain Olympics.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it was like a combination of videos, but the one I distinctly remember, this guy took a hatchet and cut his fucking genitals off.
Yep.
Like, it was
and
a
like
whole
did a
thing.
thing of it. Like it was a whole
like,
video.
took the
just
balls out of the
chopping them.
sack and played with them. It was fucking insane. Like, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It was terrible, and people say that was real. I don't know if I believe that.
It
but
was early enough in the internet. I believe that it's real.
it was harder to do deep fakes back then. I mean, you look at like Britney Spears deep fake porn from 2001. It's like,
Yeah, no.
that's not Britney Spears.
No. Very
This is
poor-
Britney Spears. It's not that hard to find something her doing something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a very poorly photoshopped like section of her face that's just floating over the model's body.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
mouth's not even moving or anything.
Yeah, like their deep fake porn in the early 2000s was like how you make like a meme on Instagram now.
Right,
It's like
right.
the face bobbling over. You're like, oh yeah, this is good. That's good. Now it is indecipherable, and like now I feel like you could fake the BMA Pain Olympics, but I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if you could do it back then.
No, not at all.
90s,
Like-
late 90s.
Oh, no. In the
You-
early
if-
2000s, absolutely not.
If you wanted a video of chopped balls, you had to chop somebody's balls. It was as simple as that.
I mean,
There was no
Just
getting
good
around
old
it.
fashioned ball chopping.
No cutting
you know?
corners, Lido Pizza style. They had to go for it.
back in my day, we didn't have editing.
Back in my day, we chopped the ball straight from the dick.
Uphill both ways in the snow.
But yeah, that's like that lady like who cut her husband's dick off, and then Eileen Wuornos who like killed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's
Eileen
like they're
Wuornos.
not, like,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. They're just,
Dead
like,
men don't
hero.
rape. You know?
Was she the original? There was a woman from the 20s who did that too. And then who was the one from the 90s?
I think it was Wuornos.
was-
She
that
was.
was-
Courtney Love,
Eileen.
like she killed.
But no, Wuornos is the most prolific female serial killer in America.
To be a prolific
Like,
anything, I mean,
right?
that's badass.
Even
mean,
if
yeah.
it's a serial killer,
Right?
it's fine.
But like,
But yeah, who's the lady in the 20s? I know
gonna
like
look her up.
nurses who smothered babies.
I was like, someone should look that up. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm the producer. Maybe I'll look that up.
Yeah, and
One of you women.
I think
Oh, you would go that way.
knocking on the door. I think the pizza's here.
oh shit, oh
there's
yes.
real pizza coming?
Oh my god,
She said pizza was coming. I heard a knock on the door.
I did. Oh,
Oh.
I don't think there's really pizza.
I don't know, but there's somebody knocking on the door.
Wait, is there really?
Yes. I love how because
I'm sorry. I can order. I can get.
No. You're good. I misread your message. I thought you said something about getting pizza, but you might have been saying like it's next to the pizza
It's
place.
next to a pizza place.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, but I can't.
No.
This,
Don't
hours of, yeah.
No, you don't have to. It's again. I misread your message. It's all good.
No, it's cool.
But it's a good thing I don't have my headphones on because.
Oh no, yeah, I would have never heard that. Like
Yeah.
that's scary. That's why like I sleep close to my children because it's like I would never hear them like when.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Oh my god.
But yeah, so like one thing that like all of us have in common too that Kaelin and I were talking about is just that we all come from a place of kind of like dark humor.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, not at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard you say a dark thing in my
No,
life.
not at all. I don't make jokes about eating periods on stage or, throwing a toaster in the bathtub and it not working because I'm too fat.
Yes. No, like I was telling her on the way here that one of my friends like sent me this meme because I feel like in spirituality, a lot of the time people like tell you you're not spiritual because you're a comedian. Like they don't think like they think that like to be a comedian you can't just like make fucking fun of the situation. Right. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. Like that's how I do it. But like my one friend like sent me this meme and it was like some people are spiritual by like holding women's circles and like doing this and doing that. And some people just fucking say raunchy, nasty ass shit and are comedians and like that's how they get it out into the world.
Oh yeah.
And I do feel like that's just like my way is like because it helps people like connect with you. Like they can just sit there and be like, yeah, I'm fucking white trash too and I love this joke.
Right.
Like
No, I feel that on a deep level. Like not so much spirituality, but like one of my favorite comedians, his name is Daniel Sloss. He's a Scottish comic, got a bunch of specials, great dude. And in one of his specials he talks about how a lot of people, when people make dark jokes, it's not because they're trying to make fun of the situation or make whoever's in it feel bad. It's to give you a moment of like rest in between so your brain can actually process and not be in constant like stress mode. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's able to wrap your head around the shit and be able to move through it better. And for me, when I started stand up, like I had just gotten out of the hospital, my second inpatient stay, and I was like, you know what? Humor is the only thing keeping me like even remotely sane. I might as well make it productive. Fuck it. And
I've never heard anybody have like a happy origin story. Like nobody's ever just like, I make people like, I was like, I'm on top. Like I might as well, do stand up because it's like, like I got fired from a job. Like that's what prompted me in watching something like, I forgot to ask, or did you just like hang around comedy and you're like, this looks cool or like.
So like I had wanted to start comedy like before COVID happened. And I remember I was going to start doing the open mic, and then the open mic that I was going to do was the Monday after the world shut down.
Oh,
so like,
again, like not positive. It's
yes, like I literally like was like, I'm going to go next Monday. It's going to be my Monday. And then like March 20th came around or whatever, and like they were like, the world is shut down because fuck COVID or like whatever. So I was like, okay.
Oh, my Lord. That is, it's just like, I mean, because I'm sure we've all seen Bo Burnham's special. He has the one song is like, towards the end of the song.
Yes.
He's talking about, I'd stayed away, I had panic attacks on stage, this, that, and the other. And then January of 2020, I was like, I should get back into it. And then the funniest thing happened.
Yes.
Yes.
And like when I remember watching that special and being like, that's what happened to me. Like, that's what happened. So like during like COVID, I ended up going through this like crazy spiritual awakening and being like a crazy person. And I'm always like laugh about it because it's like I binge watched all of Supernatural and then I'm like, I'm a witch. Like, and I was like, wow, Kaelin, you need some fucking help.
Yes.
But
no, I see because I relate. I just like I'm relate. Yeah. I just
Carry
relate.
On
It's
My
like,
Wayward Son starts gradually playing louder.
Fuck
in the background.
yes, that's what I play on the way to open mics. Where I'm like, I'm gonna slay some demons, even if they're my own inner demons. Fuck yeah.
Oh my God.
yes.
But
No.
yeah, no, I can totally relate. Like how I got started with Trev was like going to a lesbian witch party that sounds like it would be totally kinky and awesome, but we just watched Great British Baking show or something, and then we did tarot cards. And I was always scared to do tarot cards because I didn't think you could look up the guidebook or anything. But I was like, wait a minute, like this is so
can.
like awesome.
Yeah.
And then then my friends started having like banging a witch, and I was like, oh, like this is like real.
Wait,
And,
was
yeah.
it like a sex party? Like they were just all banging in front of you?
I mean,
or
again, like-
did they go to a private place?
It was just a bunch of like radical feminists hanging out in my radical feminist days.
Eating
and then,
radical feminist pussy, you know.
Yeah.
That sounds great, actually.
Right?
I'm not a turf. Just to be clear, I'm not a turf.
Oh my god, I forgot what. Can we just appreciate how was his name? Neil Feldman went from being old Greg to now the host of Great British Baking Show.
Is that him? Yeah, that's old Greg.
It's old Greg. I love it.
That's old Greg.
Is that right? He was
You
from
ever
the
drink
Mighty
Bailey's from a shoe?
You want to go to a club where people wee on each other?
Wow, talk about early internet hits.
Right?
That was a great time.
I'm waiting. I haven't watched Great British Baking Show, but if they haven't had the contestants make an old Greg cake yet, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Oh, come on.
I don't think they have.
That-
Maybe that's their next challenge.
They better be.
We got to
Like,
tag him in this.
Series finale.
Right? Just,
I got a mangina. Just a cake with a giant light in it.
Yes.
Real quick, what was that? Was that just like a random sketch comedy, or was that part of a show?
It was part of a show, and I can't. What the heck was it?
I don't know.
But was it related, or was it like this is one
It
off?
was like a sketch that they did, like Old Greg. It's like I think it's like a British version of like kind of like a Saturday Night Live type.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Oh,
I
and
watched
so
it.
old
That's
Greg
awesome.
is their
But-
Stefan. Okay, I
Yeah,
got it.
But I feel
Okay.
like stupid because I can't remember what it was called. Like old some. Fuck, I don't know. I can't remember. What it
But that
called.
was like the only old Greg sketch, though. Or
I
was there
don't know
more?
the answer to that. I just know that one was like the viral one that everyone quoted and like watched 50 times over.
God,
I
I almost
didn't
forgot
watch
about
that,
old
yeah.
Greg.
I just know the Mighty Bush. I didn't. Yeah, I know.
Wasn't it from
Okay.
the Mighty Bush? Wasn't
Yeah.
that what it was from?
I spent so much
See?
time alone. Like
I'm
I
like-
mispronounce words all the time. Like that's like.
The Legend of Old Greg, The Mighty Boosh, Season 2, Episode 5.
Yes. See,
So,
there you go.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
figured
yeah,
it out. We
yeah.
forget that we have
Google?
the world of answers in our pockets. Like, we can try to remember, or we could just Google it.
Right. Yeah. I prefer to just like speculate, like even about like historical facts. That's why I believe in like conspiracies.
That's
like,
that's a conversation that I have with my girlfriend a lot too, because I'll be like, the beauty. She's a little bit younger than me. I was like, the beauty. She's like, okay, she's like 24. I'm 30.
Yeah.
But there is a difference there in like the kind of times we grew up
Yes.
in, where
Yeah.
we kind of existed like before social media and then watched it happen. Whereas when she was coming into that, it was like all that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like people now, it's like I feel like people talked more back in the day because like you would be like, who was that guy in that movie? And then somebody would be like, oh, dude, no, he was in that. And somebody else would be like, no, he wasn't, man. He was in this one and blah, blah, blah. And you would sit there and that's a 30-minute conversation
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah.
is ruined now because one guy's just like, hold up.
Let me look at IMDb.
You're about to have a whole and think of all the other things, the other topics that are brought up along that one conversation.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you realize you forgot about this other thing, and then
Yes.
then somebody's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, dude, by the way, you should watch that movie." That whole 30-minute conversation trying to figure out this thing was just eliminated from the universe because somebody in the first 1 second of the conversation Googled it, and then you're just like. And then we
then
wonder
it's
why
over.
people just go back to looking at their phones because like there's nothing to talk about now. That was the whole purpose of conversation. What was Socrates doing? They were sitting there fucking talking about shit because there was no Google.
It made me think of a couple of things. Number one, 98 Rock, when they do their like giving away tickets stuff, there's a certain game they'll play of like help grandma or grandpa remember this actor, and they'll describe this person like, oh, they were in that one thing, and that's pretty much where that's gone. But you brought
I just do so many drugs. I might as well be a dementia patient.
I
Like,
feel.
shouldn't use
I
my
feel.
phone. It's like-
But the other thing was, because you brought up Socrates, and I've been on this thing recently of I realized that comedians are a lot like modern day philosophers, and that sounds more hoity-toity than I mean it to.
No.
Like, fucking, because if you really think about, if you know history, what have you, all the philosophers were just a bunch of dudes sitting in the fucking whatever the fuck, jerking each other off, coming up with shit, and that's pretty much what comics do at open mic,
True.
like all the time.
I mean,
So-
It really
just
was.
in social settings in
Right,
general. You
yeah.
just sit around and like do that shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's-
literally and figuratively.
And in the medieval times, by the way, angle this a little bit more this direction to you.
Put it in your mouth, Charlotte.
That's beautiful.
Sorry.
But in the medieval times, the court jesters were actually, they weren't thought of as like, I mean, there were fools.
Yeah,
You know, I'm sure the guys with like the spiky hats, they were fools.
Yeah.
But like a court jester, like they were regarded as like, you know, like commentators. They were like, people respected their opinions and stuff. So like, I mean, the distinction between, I mean, stand-up comedy is kind of born out of that, just like talking. And I can say that because I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm allowed to jerk off stand-up comedy because I've always loved it for that reason. You know, I really have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I've told this story before of like, I had a friend who stopped talking to me because of Dave Chappelle's specials. And I tried to explain to this person, like, he's not your enemy. He's not up there saying, oh, kill all trans people, this, that, and the other. He should have worded some shit better and done more research, but he's a stand-up comic, not an expert on all this other shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not that fucking serious. It's really not. But if you want to initiate a conversation, he's pretty much opened the door for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you can't.
I also
you know.
think in this scenarios, like sometimes you don't quite tell the 100% truth because you're trying to make it funny.
Right, because
So,
in
like,
comedy, nobody gives
yeah.
a shit about the truth.
Like you're
at all.
bending,
You
you're
have to
bending it
introduce
to make the joke.
The absurdity, that's kind of where humor comes from.
Oh,
is
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the absurdity thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So you have to kind of introduce a level of like, what the fuck? Or else it's just
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah, well
sit
there,
there give a speech about gender identity. It's not fun.
well no, but there was a whole, and still is a whole type of comedy, absurdist comedy of like, there was this pair of comics back in the day, I don't remember their name, but they would say outlandish, like, racist, homophobic, blah, 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 and the premise was, look at how crazy this thought process is. Look at how, like, who could think like this? But because of the times we live in, people now are like, no, there's people who actually think like that, so you can't, you know, it's very dangerous ground
Yes.
nowadays.
Well, I think before people hit it better when they really were like that, and now they're just kind of like, this is how I feel. Like,
yeah.
and then it like gets murky because when you said something as just like a joke because you were being funny, people now are like, you're a terrible person.
Right, because all the people who are like,
Oh, I know I'm a terrible person. I'm a garbage. It's called American.
yeah,
We're garbage people.
I like that.
I got that from a Sesame Street meme about
I
garbage.
thought you were gonna be like, I got that from Sesame Street. I'm like, what are they teaching these
I get all my
days?
jokes, actually.
We're trash.
And so it's just like what we were talking about, just like doing people not thinking stand-up can be healing or spiritual because especially dark humor or offensive humor, it may be considered low vibrational. But I try to talk about dark or fucked up, or I come from like a kind of racist background, like family and stuff, and I feel like I can make fun of my racist family without being racist.
Right. Well, and especially nowadays, like, making fun of your racist family is like top tier. Like,
It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. It's I'm sorry.
No,
you're
fine. But I forgot what I was gonna say.
Like but about low vibrational energy, kind of like some. And again, I don't try to be offensive on purpose, but I think that there's something when a shocking or offensive joke hits and it forces a laugh out of something.
Right.
That's like a banishing energy kind
Yeah,
of. So
and that's how I
magic.
feel. It's like it's not quite low vibrational if you're getting something out because it's part of healing that own trauma that you're just talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember the thing of like, because part of what ruined all of that is those assholes who, because you can always tell intent, you can always tell if a person actually means what they're saying. And there's those assholes where they'll make those jokes, but you can tell they mean it in their soul.
Yes.
But then they're, oh, I'm just joking. And so that's made it so much harder
Yes.
to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like they're not joking, but they're just like, I just want to say this because I can.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Yeah. So wait, which side of Dave Chappelle are you on? I just
Me? Oh no, I'm pro Chappelle. You know,
Pro Dave.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I grew up watching Chappelle Show, what have you, but also like he made very good points. Number one, we're not doing suffering wars. We're not doing suffering comparison. Nobody wins there at all. But at the same time, like, yes, you've suffered. Nobody's saying that you haven't. And yes, it's horrible and things need to change. But you're not going to sit here and tell a black man you've suffered more than him. You know, like, especially when, for the queer community versus the black community, queer community has gotten light years farther than the black communities with getting rights back, what have you, you know, all that other shit. And it's like, yes, you've suffered. Yes, this is horrible shit. But you can't, first of all, you can't cut yourself off from the rest of the world like that. Because the main argument with it is, oh, only trans people or queer people can make jokes about this or talk about this. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. If you want a conversation to happen, you need to allow other people, as ignorant as they are, to talk. Because you need to be able to counter it and explain, no, X, Y, Z. Like, this is not... you're shutting shit down for yourself. It's not going to get better if you just keep shutting it down like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
I was recently on a show where Maria Sanchez headlined, and some of my friends from the LGBTQ plus community, they call. Sorry, I'm coming. This is a bad joke. They call them the alphabet community, I guess, which is the runic community.
That's a Chappelle tag right there,
Yeah.
right?
the alphabet mafia.
Yeah. But they came, and again, we were having a great time. We had queer people on the show talking about pansexuality.
Right.
I was in the back room. Apparently, Maria did a joke talking about something to do with just trans women dominating sports, but just something about that. But anyway, and my trans friend screamed and called her a TERF and stuff toward the end. And I want to first of all say Maria's not even a feminist, so she's not a TERF.
Yeah.
Right.
And she eats pussy like nobody ever.
Right? Love Maria. And I want to just put a disclaimer here since we're going into all of this. I'm queer. I don't know about the two of you, but I'm queer. We're not like homophobic.
I'm just weird.
But we're on that other side of like, because there's the queer community that quite frankly is uptight and, gets offended at everything, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the rest of us that we're just normal people who happen to like eating box. Like, and we're not, it's really not that serious.
No, yeah.
And especially like one of the points that not Chappelle made, but going into that whole thing of like, quite frankly, as a queer, you can hide that shit. You shouldn't have to at all.
True.
But if survival came down to it, you can hide that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
a black man can't hide being black.
Yeah.
It's not.
Can I ask a question real quick?
I was
what's
gonna
up?
say.
Yeah.
I also have a question. Can I? Appreciate it.
I also can read minds.
Yes. You're magic too.
Oh shit! Yes.
Am I also cigarettes?
Good,
the
thank
official,
you.
the official cigarette of InfoWarlocks and white people. Camel Crust.
Sponsor us.
Oh yeah, Mabe. I'm like.
Yeah, please do. So I have two things. My first thing is I have never seen a word have such a kind of like rebound like the word queer, because when I was growing up, that was an incredibly derogatory thing to say. But also when I was growing up, it was the 90s and 2000s, so we said it.
Right.
And so like we play Smear the
And I
Queer.
think you're around our
football.
age, but Charlotte is a Gen Zer, right?
So I was born in '96.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
part of that.
Okay.
I'm a part of that weird
The cusp.
5-year group.
You're my brother's age,
where I'm technically a millennial because I do remember 9/11.
Yeah.
Thank you. However, it's weird because. Like, I remember 9/11, but what I remember is I was at school.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we were told we're having a half day and our parents are coming to pick us up.
Yeah.
And my mom got there and she was like, we need to get home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got home and then the towers on TV were burning. So, like, I remember, but I also grew up with all the Gen Z shit of,
Yeah.
like, early 2000s and
Some people call it like Zillennial. That's what they kind of call it.
Yeah, pretty
That's what I call it, and I was going to try to say other people call it that too. So
Stop
that
trying
you
to
can
make
a catch.
Zillennial happen.
Right?
Zillennial. Some people I've heard other people say.
I've seen another one of like, and this was a Tumblr post back in the day, from like 95 to 2000. We don't know what the fuck we are generation. We are,
Yeah, because you're not like the Gen Z type of thing. You're
No.
just like
You're in betweeners. You're just
Yeah.
kind of floaters.
But at the same, I was born '92,
Right.
and like so, like that is the technically kind of the tail end. They do say that '95 or '96 is kind of the contested cutoff for millennials, because technically we started in '83, which seems
Right.
early. Because I have way less in common. I feel like I have more in common with you than I have in common with a dude who's like 40 right now.
Right.
Not any derogatory. It's just like that guy probably has kids and a family and shit like
Right.
that, and I'm in a garage recording a podcast with you.
Right.
So.
No, I feel that
like,
exactly.
what are
and
you trying to say?
like and it's even weirder because like for us, we were a part of the millennials who were brainwashed into going to college and spending a mortgage on a piece of paper that we
100%.
didn't need, but also like we're just as angry and seething at the mouth and quitting jobs as Gen Z. Like I just quit my job this past week. I'm still there for a couple weeks.
That's
while
a
we
good
find
thing, right?
replacement.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Congratulations.
However, my plan fell through a little bit. I was planning on using my tax return to pay my bills for a few months. Not only am I not getting a tax return, somehow I owe the government $30.
Oh, fuck.
Like,
You owe the gov $30?
right, like
$30.
That's such a petty amount.
I know, it is such a petty
I
amount.
was supposed to get like $3,400, and it's like, no, you owe us money.
That sounds like something that the
That
government
sounds
should
fake.
Venmo charge you
Yeah.
for.
Right.
It also just sounds fucking fake. Like, it
petty
sounds like
shit.
they were like, we just want to be assholes.
Right. But like, and to be fair, I was also raised white trash, so you know, there's also that element to it as well. But like, you know, we are the young on the quote unquote right side of history, the very like, fuck you, we're changing this shit. But also,
Yeah, that's why I love Gen
I'm a
Z.
part of the older of like, slow down. You're alienating people who actually want to help. Slow the fuck down. Like, it's not.
Millennials are the last generation that bought the dream. That's how I put it that way. We
Yeah.
really bought into
Yeah.
it. We really bought into the whole like, and I feel like Gen Z watched us and they were like, that college shit, like a lot of shit. They were like, I don't know if that worked out for you guys.
Well, that's why I didn't go. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't really know what I want to do, but I also know I'm not about to spend a mortgage on a piece of paper that I'm not going to use.
Yep.
Like that. No, the fuck.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So the word queer really came around, and now it's like a thing again, where it's like something people call themselves. Whereas like
'Cause
10,
it's an
20 years
umbrella
ago,
term,
you
yeah.
wouldn't have called. But that leads me to my next question. What does that mean? I still don't know what queer means.
So queer in general is an umbrella term for the alphabet mafia of like, you know, if you don't necessarily want to disclose exactly what you are.
So
and it's-
anything in that thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's
Okay.
funny you say that because the last time I was in the hospital, there was an older woman who was in the wing that I was, and me and this other younger person about my age called ourselves queer, and she immediately was like, "Oh, why would you call yourselves that?" Blah blah blah. And we're like,
Yeah.
"No, it's not bad anymore. It's not like, yeah."
I work with like a bunch of little old ladies, and like the one day, I guess it was after one of the actresses at like one of the award shows like called herself queer, and I can't remember. It was like the lady from Orange Is the New Black. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So she like outly like called herself queer or whatever, and like the little old ladies came in and they're like, Kaelin, what does this mean? And then they're like asking me, they're like, can I just ask you, like, can you just break down like what LGBTQ like plus means? And like,
Yeah.
That's why I say queer, because
But
it's so
do you
much harder to say
Do you have 48 hours?
I know. Like they were very respectful, so like I was okay with it because like they just wanted to know. They're like, why isn't she a lesbian? Why is she queer? And I'm like, all right, let's talk
Yeah.
about this, ladies.
Because
Like,
there's some people who like everything, you know?
Yes.
And it's like, because there's a joke that I reserve for mostly queer crowds, which is, I identify as a pansexual, polyamorous, bigender switch. Which for anybody who
I'm
knows what
just
those,
bisexual. Easy.
but for anybody who knows what those words means, knows I don't know how to make up my fucking mind. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
So you have a joke where you your identity is like fuck around and find out.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I always laugh whenever I see like this is fuck around and find out. I think about Charlotte. Like it's like
yeah, it's, I identify as gender variant. So if you could please respect me and use my pronouns, which are fuck around and find out, I'd appreciate that.
I think I've heard you say that before.
That is the drawback, I will say, of the progressive thing is they love acronyms a lot.
Yeah.
They really
Oh,
love
yeah.
acronyms, but they love it so much that the acronym actually becomes longer than anything you would ever say.
oh
Like,
yeah, that's why I say queer.
they
I'm
hate
like-
words. They love acronyms, and then their acronyms become longer than words.
You're just
like,
speaking the
just say
entire
the
alphabet
word.
as you're saying it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
That's how I'm gonna teach my sons like LGBT.
I love it.
NZ.
That's a bit right there, right now.
But it's that's the thing. I think that it's important to be self-deprecating and to be self-deprecating about the groups that you're in. Like that's the one thing about trans, which I guess I don't understand. And I guess it sort of plays back to the oppression Olympics, where it's like I just feel like a black woman who grew up in Baltimore City, who grew up around violence, like not
Yeah.
to be stereotypical, like, and who's
She's-
a lesbian herself. She can,
Yeah.
can
Probably
make
has
trans
bigger
jokes. I
problems.
don't-
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you know, and that's why, like, I hate to go this way, but I feel like a lot of the louder voices that initiate that, like, fuck you, you can't, blah, 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 is the privileged white kids who don't have anything but being queer.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And then,
don't
of
say.
course, then you go, and then, you know, going along with that
like,
is the
"That's
younger
me."
generations who Gen Z, and again, it is necessary. Yes, shit needs to change. Nobody's denying that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But also, there's bigger problems in the world, my guy. Like, it's...
And when you make a joke, you have to realize people might, have a response to it, and that's okay. I just wish my friends didn't like heckle at the show. Like, I wish that they would have just pulled her aside and just tried to.
A conversation can be had, but there's an appropriate way to do it.
Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, so that was your. I forgot the premise of that story. So that was your friends that heckled Maria.
Yeah. And then there's been, luckily, I don't know, once I realized, I guess my tribe are really like comedians more than, but I don't.
Sam's friends, you get an official SMH. An official SMH.
I'm shaking my head.
The YTA. Oh, am I the asshole on Reddit? YTA, yes.
I'm always the asshole on Reddit. It's like,
Do you often post in "Am I the asshole"?
Yeah.
Do you really? What's your thing? I want to go read them all. Let's do it right now. Part of the podcast is just reading everything that Sam has asked "Am I the asshole" about.
While we're there, like,
It's actually the original name of this podcast.
Was it really?
Should have been.
that would be appropriate considering, because I'm sitting here trying not to go full white trash into the opinions and shit, because I don't want to sound too like.
No, go for it. Sound over. Yeah. I'm just a constant ball of anxiety, but don't let my anxiety.
No.
affect,
You're
the
good.
Energy.
It's just again because especially the internet is where the cancel culture thrives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I have nothing to cancel, so
I mean, fair.
Myself.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Cancel myself.
I said that I'm sorry to Kaelin so much. It was like she was driving me to rehab. She's like, I'm
Sorry to disappoint you again, Mom.
That's exactly what all my shit is mommy issues.
I
just stroked her hair and was like, everything's gonna be all right, darling.
Just follow the 12 steps. You'll be fine.
I'll be back in 3 months.
3 months turns into 3 years.
Yeah, probably. Well, she broke out 3 times in between, escaped.
Lord.
Oh my god, no, it's hilarious. That's something that I'm sorry I'm so fucking all over the place, but that's something that Charlotte wanted to bring up too, is overlapping themes throughout mythologies and stuff, and another common theme is the rule of 3.
Yeah,
which is oddly enough a rule in comedy too.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
or in traditional,
yeah. Well, not just comedy and art too. You have there's art of the 3. Way you break up your images, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Composition. Thank you.
Composition.
I'll finish your sentences.
But yeah, no, it's so what she brought up, the thing that I wanted to talk about. There's a thing that I've noticed, and understand this came from ADHD stream of consciousness, and I don't really know what I'm talking about. This is just a theory, but I've noticed if you look at history, all throughout history, and then at all of the religions and everything else, there's a lot of overlapping themes that there's something here, and if you follow the map, it can give you a lot of answers to a lot of different shit.
Dude, can we pull up the QAnon map?
Jesus Christ.
I don't think that's what she's talking about.
Okay. About 35% of it, I believe it. 35%.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
But because on a base level, look at Greek mythology, Egyptian, what have you. There's a god of war. There's this. There's that.
And goddesses of war.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And then you have overlapping themes of be good to people, be charitable, this, that, and the other. All that other stuff. And so it's okay. Then there's. I'm very badly explaining this whole theory.
No, that's good.
I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's an argument of is there an afterlife, reincarnation, all that other stuff, and it's what if on a scientific level everything for sure is matter and energy. That's it. There's nothing else, and you cannot destroy either of those. They can take on different forms, but you cannot destroy them. So, basically, my theory is there's the energy that makes up us, because the big question the world has always had, what happens to us after we die? What is this? Blah, blah, blah. And we don't really know what it is that makes us, the personality, the what have you. what if it's all a part of the same shit? Because think about, if I'm in a shitty mood and I project that onto you, then you're in a shitty mood and it keeps going.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a collective.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, what it comes down to, the body dies. Okay, that's the matter, what have you, becomes worm food. The energy that becomes us, there's a bigger energy flowing through the universe, what karma, what have you, good, blah, 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 just goes into this bigger energy, then splits off into a different body. Like, again, very badly explained.
So basically,
but
it's just
No, it's
ghosts leaving our bodies and going into another body.
pretty much.
It's
Like,
people have different.
there's more steps, but yeah.
Yeah, people have different ideas, and I think I said this on the last podcast. But what you're describing is kind of very similar to how I kind of look at it. And also what I think when you get past all the kind of distortions of the idea of God, I think that even like if you were to say like, okay, when people talk about God, which is another thing that transcends cultures, it's
Right.
not just Christians and people that have this idea of something bigger than that.
Right.
It's like if you think about like, you know, and even in Buddhism, they have like the idea of self. The sense of self is a delusion. It's actually like it's a flaw. It's a distortion in our perception because we look at ourselves as ourselves when in reality we're just a blip of this energy that's constantly taking different forms. And for this
Right.
brief moment in the timeline, the infinite timeline of the universe, it's me. And then, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
but then I look at it as like, I've always looked at it as like, well, the same thing that's seeing myself as me, who's experienced my life, who's only ever seen itself as me, is the same thing that's seeing itself as you.
Right.
And so that one consciousness is kind of existing in all these different vessels and experiencing life from all these different individual perspectives, diluted at the idea that we're all the kind of like the best way I can put it is when you're in a dream and let's say I have a dream tonight, right?
All right, Martin.
Totally. All right. Come on, it's February. Give me a break.
Black History
Give me a goddamn break. It's February. I have a dream.
Yes.
I have a dream.
This podcast is gonna be going on.
Tonight, I have a dream, right? Let's say we're all in it. Let's say in my dream tonight, we're all on the podcast talking. Now, in my dream, I'm going to perceive it as I'm sitting here talking to Sam, Kaelin, and Charlotte. But when I wake up, I realize that all those people in my dream were just me projecting itself
Am I in a psych ward right now? Like, is this really? Are you guys
as
real?
you, and it's like, whoa, what if it's kind of analogous to that in life where we're deluded, much like in a dream, by thinking like, when I talked to my mom in my dream, that wasn't my mom. That was
But what
me.
if it was your mom?
Oh, there's another. See, there's another
And see,
angle.
that's why, like, 'cause
like
there's-
because I've had dreams before. Like this is a legit story. Maybe like 2 years ago, this guy messages me. I haven't spoken to him since middle school.
Whoa.
The night before, I had a dream about him and I walking through our middle school, having a conversation,
What?
some other shit. He messages me the next day. I had this dream last night about you. We were walking through our middle school. This is what was happening. We had the same fucking dream. It was fucking weird. Like that was the
Strange.
weirdest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yes. And, well, and you're like, I want to speak. No. Sorry. No. And if I speak over anyone, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I fucking
fine.
No,
ADHD.
it's
But,
introverted.
Right. But both of you made me think, because that's why a lot of cultures, like Asian cultures, will say you'll have a dream about people right after they die. It's them coming to say goodbye. You know what I mean? And like that shit happens all the time, which is also what brings me to like one of the other overlapping things is we are all one. We are all, you know,
Yeah.
what have you. And fucking.
Well, those are the two. Those are the two. I guess because it's interesting that you say that. Like, what if it was your mom? And I guess then it comes down to the major distinction is: are we all individuals? Because then you look at like Christianity, you're like, okay, like when I die, what happens to me? And the thing that because I am Christian, I'm Greek Orthodox, and like, but that's just the way I was raised. But I have, you know, my own thoughts about things and things like that. But I also totally respect the foundations of that and just the culture and everything like that. You know what I mean?
Are they like Catholics?
They actually, Orthodoxy broke away from the Catholics in brief little history lesson. Greek Rome lasted until 1500s. Western Rome, Catholic Rome, Latin Rome, Italian-speaking Rome died in like the early ADs or something like that. So the Byzantine Empire was Greek-speaking Romans. That was Constantine and Constantinople, all that shit. The Orthodox broke away from the Catholics because they thought the Catholics were doing a bunch of like weird shit that had nothing to do with Christianity. So the Orthodoxy, that's why we have like a different Easter. Us,
Your
Russians,
people killed my pagan people.
We
What?
did? Hey, that was
Constantinople.
that was the Catholics. Don't put it on the Greeks. We killed plenty of our own people.
I mean,
We don't need to take anybody else's body counts. We got enough of our own.
Yeah.
But like in those type of religions, we look at it as like, oh, when I die, I go to heaven, and then you're just you when you die. It's like, well, it's like, I guess when like you have a kid or something like that, like there is kind of a weird feeling. I would imagine, I don't have a kid, but I look at like certain things where like, in a weird way, it's like this sense of it has to be me, individuality. When I die, I stay me. It's like, dude, does it not strike you as odd that like you reproduce with another human, and then another thing comes out of that has your genes and their genes, and then lives on? It's like this thing, and then you teach it all your mannerisms and all your things, all your ideas, and then that thing goes on to the new generation. It's like, what if that's everlasting? Like, what if the universe is literally this long-term thing of like, we're all just like, you know, it's
that's
like,
why before then that's these presidents, like my kids got taken, like I lost custody of my children, but when I had them full time, I'm like, okay, like you wanted your legacy to be stand-up comedy, you wanted it to be comedy, like, but now your legacy is your children, so that's what. But that absolutely makes like a lot of sense. Where that's alchemy, literal alchemy.
yeah. Well, it's part of the
Alchemical
reason.
imbalance.
Well, it's part of the reason that throughout history, the male heir has always been more, what have you, because
I
the
had two,
name.
my job's fucking done.
Name
My
continues.
But that's the thing. The name continues.
Yeah.
And then part of you is in your kids because you teach them all of your shit. But also going into reincarnation of. So for my theory, there's this bigger pot of energy that makes up all personalities, what have you, just splits off, which is why. Say you go to a mystic, somebody who can see what have you, is like, oh, you.
Dude,
have
and I'm just saying,
all of
she's literally
these-
an energy healer. Sorry,
Right.
we're talking about it seriously, though.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So I'm just saying, you're talking to the right person about this shit.
Yeah.
But
Like,
you
yeah.
have that's why I say, oh, you have past lives. You did this. You
Yes.
did that.
Yep.
It's because your energy has been recycled
Yes.
throughout history.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's why you're not just you. You're a mix of a million other people, because it's not just you coming back when you're reincarnated.
Yeah.
It's you mixed with some other motherfucker.
Yes.
But also,
Whoa,
but that's the thing that you have to take a pause at, is because you are just a mix of everything before you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next thing isn't just you coming back, but also you right now isn't just
So
you.
that's what
It's a
twin
mix of everything
flames
before you.
literally are. Sorry, like everybody's broken it down. That twin flames literally are people who reincarnated, but they split their soul with like other people. That's like a fucking
It's a split
horcrux.
soul, and then you make like a whole person when you
Whoa,
come
yeah.
together.
That's fucking
when
crazy.
you come together.
Well, it's not always sexual.
You'll be lucky.
Oh,
Usually only one person is coming, let's be honest.
Yeah. And it's not the woman.
that's spoiler alert.
We always get the raw end of that deal.
We do.
Oh, in this situation, I was the one going because I got, mommy got taken away. Sorry. I can't wait till like I can make this shit more funny than depressing. Sorry.
It's fine. Funny,
Yeah.
depressing, it's all the
Depressing.
same.
I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. And that's like another thing, like shadow work and stuff too, which is just like
Yeah.
about like that's what I think stand up comedy is. That's how I think it's healing. It's by going into something, and especially somebody who is like bullied or I hate myself, is like taking the negative in life and joking.
You're
about
making it positive in
Yeah.
a way. Like you're
Yeah.
digging real deep into like all of the things that have happened to you, and you're going, how can I make this funny?
Yeah.
That's what I do all
Yeah.
the time in my jokes. Like I think about stories that happened to me when I was a child, when I was this, when I was that. And I'm like, okay, so this was real fucked up. But like, how can I make this
Yes.
funny?
Yes.
And I can.
Yeah.
And I do. Like that's
Oh my yeah, that's the Millstream is fucking hilarious. Like the
Millstream dreams, baby.
Oh my god, like it's so dark too, and it actually has like a message where it's just,
Isn't
like,
that dark?
Oh, well,
like,
like it's funny. I guess like I'm sorry. I look at it like I guess because,
is
like,
it dark that my parents slated me to be a stripper from the time I was a child?
like
Oh, that's a good one.
have you ever heard that one?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
but that's good. But no, it's you're taking that negative energy and converting it
Yes.
into more positive energy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
We're energy converters.
Yeah. No, quite literally.
Isaac
and it-
Newton would love this conversation.
and it it can help
Shouts out my
balance
boy
out
Isaac.
that karma. You know what I mean? Because you put out good comes back to you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So quite literally energy
Yes.
converters.
I mean,
we
there's-
are science fucking
We are science. Comedians
We
are science.
In this garage, we believe comedy is science. Water
Take
is
everything
life.
seriously.
Are we writing like a college paper here?
Yeah.
Why comedians are science.
Thirdly,
in this dissertation? I will.
This is for my master's degree.
this is better than a lot of people's master's degrees. Theses
Yeah,
and
but-
theses.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I truly like a part of alchemy is like accomplishing like your own great work, and I feel like that should be every human being's purpose, no matter what your great work is. Like, everyone should have one, and
That was what even before. Have you ever read The Alchemist though? Paulo Coelho.
Yes.
haven't,
Great,
Yes.
great. I was gonna say great flick. Great page flicker.
Yeah. No, fantastic book.
Passing through it.
Fantastic.
Is it a fiction or nonfiction or?
It's fiction, but it's
it's fiction.
but
I
it's-
forget which is which.
I haven't read it in a long fucking time, but it's basically, if I'm remembering correctly, this kid comes from this village, believes he's gonna, marry this girl, do all this stuff, but then he goes on this journey, becomes an alchemist, the whole thing, and his life changes, blah, blah, blah. And the basic overall message is, you may think you want this now, but like, just follow life through and you'll be surprised where it takes you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also, you don't know what you want. I mean,
Yeah.
if you got everything you ever wanted, then I'd be like, what? I'd be married to the girl I liked in kindergarten.
Right.
What would I?
Right.
You don't know what you want.
Yeah.
You have to let life tell you what you want.
Yeah. I was going to say lots of things I wanted, I do not want anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Instagram has helped a lot with that. Just go.
Right.
Oh wow. That's
That's why I do tarot. It's like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to look, like, yeah, I can't.
You need
never,
something
like,
to tell you what to think. You're like putting it out in the universe. You're like, oh, I got the devil. Oh, better not go with that man. All he's good for is dick.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That double prong fucking double penetration without even trying. It's great. But no, like, fantastic book. The reason I read it is, so you definitely, I don't know about you or you, know the band of Mice and Men?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't like.
You're the one person who I thought did.
I know. It's like I know
They're-
songs. I don't know bands. Like,
They're emo, screamo, what have you. I've met most of the band, but I met Austin Carlisle when he was still in the band, and he gave me his personal copy of it and signed it. And he's the reason I have this tattoo.
Awesome.
And phenomenal book, and I can see why it's his favorite.
Wait. Who's the band that sings "We All Float on"?
Modest Mouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not of Mice and Men.
I'm just
Modest
so
Mouse.
humble. I couldn't even. It's like mouse, modest.
Bro,
but- sorry.
side tangent just made me think of when I was in high school. I was in AP English 12, and our teacher had us analyze what was it, Hotel California by the Eagles, and she tried to say it was some bullshit, like an actual hotel, real innocent shit. I'm like, this song is about drugs and sex. What the fuck are you on?
This song is about
Addiction and sex.
the
Like, what-
rapacious nature of the music industry. In the last verse, he says,
I thought it was really partying in a hotel. I'm sorry. Yeah.
they stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. He's talking about Steely Dan and how, real musicians are trying to crack into the industry, but the industry is completely fueled by fueled by just like gimmicks and fucking like all that shit that like people try to market, where like real artists can't thrive in that industry. So it is all about those things, about sex addiction and how that's what sells and things. It's an interesting song. I love it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Literally, my brain did that when you were slaying the beast. Like in my head, I imagine like slaying like a dragon or like slaying,
As a
like,
guy with
demon or
a
something. I
Hotel
was like,
California
yeah.
poster on my wall.
Hell yes,
It comes
yes.
full circle.
But going back to what you said, Sam, that idea of alchemy, finding your truth and living it. That's going back to the ancient Greek stuff. Socrates, when he wrote the Republic, which I guess Plato wrote it, but that was all based off the idea of what is morality. That was the defining question of that. And what he defined it as was essentially, to put it in something you put on the back of a t-shirt, is like doing what you do best. Like finding what you do, like your job is to figure out what it is that you do best and do it.
Yeah.
You know? And so that idea, again, talking about transcending cultures, it's not like, I think marriage is a great example of that, because marriage is not a religious thing. When you come up with the idea,
contract.
there's not a place, there's not a place you could go on the planet that I'm aware of where they don't have some idea of unifying of a man and a woman. You know, obviously there's a lot of places that don't have the idea of man and a man or a woman and a woman, but pretty much everywhere has the idea of like, yeah, dude, you get to a certain age, instead of just fucking random people like we're fucking, you know, shrews in a field,
come together.
how about
and
you
try
get
to build
married?
some shit.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, and yeah, even the queer people that I know often have a feminine role and then a more traditionally masculine role. And I'm not even talking about like the way appearance. It's like somebody who's more receiver and somebody who's more, I guess, top and bottom. I don't know.
Earth and sky.
Yeah,
I prefer earth and sky. Top bottom.
Instead of bride and groom, it's just like earth and sky. You select which one of it's like an airbender wedding.
Can the gay can the queer community adopt that instead of top and bottom? Just go earth and sky.
I mean, I'll bring it up at the next meeting. Report back. But,
I'm like, can two earths get married?
right. But I mean,
No sky.
I mean, there is always that breakdown of like division of responsibilities, division of energy, what have you, you know, and in America in particular, it's a matter of breaking down those gender stereotypes of no, the woman doesn't just wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, what have you. It's a matter
Especially when you
of
have
She also vacuums. She also
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to it.
Right, she makes me dinner.
I mean, let's not sell these women short.
Right, they have a lot of talents.
They take care of the children. They got a lot of things.
Who knew those tits were better for than just me sucking them?
I know, right?
Like,
Can feed a whole baby.
right? Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't like having to share with my son though.
You know? Well, just don't then, you know? Just let him starve.
No, I make enough money. Get him that simulated shit. You know?
yeah, like I say, like I have Irish twins, and like my tits are literally Irish twins. Like the way that they're, because it's like they're totally like lopsided and stuff. It's like
They're like they had the life sucked out of them.
yeah, because like one is like literally sorry. I always wanted to make that a joke, but then I was like, is that going too low? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think you could work it in.
But yeah, it's and you're right, like I guess marriage exists, but it's changing, you know. And I mean, it's mostly a tax write off now. I
No,
guess.
honestly, it's literally just a business contract. And to the point back in the day, if you got married for love, people called you crazy. Because again, the whole point, it's a business contract. It started way back with royal, where it was families marrying for land and.
Yep.
If you were poor, you didn't get married. You just shacked up with somebody, had some kids, and called it a day.
Yeah, it's still that
You know what I
way.
mean?
That's what I was doing.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Shit, they're saving a lot of money. Although maybe not by filing separately.
Some people are just having babies to get that tax write off.
I mean,
be real.
I mean,
I got them for the food stamps, but then I lost it.
I feel that. I feel
them
that.
for the food
Yeah, no,
stamps.
I was gonna say real quick fact I learned that I thought was really interesting, since we were talking about like breastfeeding and stuff. Apparently, like when the baby is breastfeeding, there's like a gland in the breast that like it can actually detect from the saliva like what nutrients it's lacking,
That's
and
amazing.
then add that in.
Yeah.
And so that, first of all, that shit, it boggles my mind. Also,
It can detect if the baby's like sick and needs extra like immunization and stuff
that's
like
that's
that.
a great argument for breastfeeding, if nothing else. Not that I have an opinion, because
I mean,
I don't have any kids.
it always baffles me when people do have an opinion on it. Like, you can't do that. It's like, I'm sorry. Did she ask you to sexualize her body? She's literally feeding her child.
Yeah.
Like,
I know,
honestly.
but then it
Yes, I
does catch you
did.
kind of off guard, like even as somebody who did breastfeed when you see it in public. But it's like, this should be normal. But it's like,
it should be. Like, I'm sorry. Do you want to eat your dinner in the bathroom? I wouldn't, like.
I'm unfazed by just like some titties out to feed somebody.
Right.
Well, really titties out in any situation, but
Right,
I'm
like, and
unfazed.
That's
Yeah.
the
Doesn't
other
matter.
thing of like, I'm sorry, you're complaining about seeing titties?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you're not supposed to be creepy about it, Charlotte.
Like-
if it's like feeding a baby, you're supposed to like disconnect that from like wanting to grab
I
it, you know?
understand that, but for the people who have an issue with it, like, this is like really.
I think a lot of it does come from too, like it's like the weird ladies who are like, my husband can't see your boob, and it's like,
Your husband's a predator.
Yeah, like your husband's seen so many titties on the internet. Please,
Exactly.
like
Right,
he
right.
can see this one. And if your husband thinks it's sexy that there's like a baby sucking on it, that's a whole other issue we got to talk about.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, like I guess there's like a difference between being like, oh look, like it's awesome and powerful and stuff, and then being like, yeah, titties. But I still have like the self-loathing like monster girl bisexual thing in my brain where like I flash back every time like I see a woman's like boobs or something, like to like the ninth grade. Like locker room and stuff.
I was like, what
Specifically
happened in the
Don't look, like,
ninth
don't look.
grade?
Yeah, that's when I dropped out of school, so that's when my
Oh, okay.
development stopped.
I thought,
Or ninth-
that's the
ninth,
last
10th grade.
time I saw a good pair of titties.
Freshman year was a good year.
All the girls just
Was
get
it Matthew
naked.
McConaughey? High school girls, man. I keep getting older and they stay the same age.
Dude, I kind of think Mike. I think he'd make a good politician. Like, I don't know.
Who?
I don't know.
Matthew McConaughey?
Well, okay.
All
Like,
right. So what we're gonna
What
do
state?
is,
What state?
Texas, of course.
Okay. You know what? You're right.
Definitely Texas.
The way he showed up for that with Uvalde, which I think was still a
Yeah.
mass sacrifice. I'm not saying those kids didn't actually die, and those parents. I'm not saying the parents were in on it. I still think it was like a mass sacrificial ritual. I think that the government is in on it. That's another. But
InfoWarlocks.
I just wanted to say like InfoWarlocks.
Yeah, that's a good time to kick off the part 2 of this
yeah.
episode, by the way.
yeah.
InfoWarlocks. If you're just tuning in, Uvalde was debatably
Yeah.
a mass sacrifice.
Oh, sorry. Can I go off the
thought he was
topic
gonna
for
say-
a second? Or like, sorry. Do you like?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I thought he was gonna say it's debatably a mass shooting. Who knew?
No, I'm like I know. Yeah.
Debatably.
Oh my God,
I'm
I'm
gonna go now.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
To clarify, I think a shooting actually happened. I think the guy actually shot the people. But part of me kind of thinks like that these things like since the ancient times have been happening, and that something is feeding off of our energy, and that okay,
You're like, it
am I
was
going
a
too-
demon from hell.
Yes.
And am I going? Yeah, okay, I'm going too far.
I'm like, I did
Yeah.
share with you that like all of my stuff came from Supernatural. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
watch that
exactly, yeah.
ever, like you would see that
Well, mine
this
came
is
from
very
Buffy.
realistic. No.
Yeah, I totally believe in the hell mouth.
Cash App.
Yeah.
Well, it's Sam. Going back to another thing we talked about on a great talks. Another thing that we talked about on the podcast, which is people get very caught up in the idea. It's like whether or not, like you don't have to believe that. You don't have to believe that there's like necessarily demons and shit like that doing sacrifices. All you have to do to accept your theory is believe that people believe it. For instance,
yeah.
the
Yes,
whole
right.
the whole like Epstein thing where they took it to the nth degree and were like, well, they're sacrificing kids and drinking their adrenochrome or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, does that actually work? Is this actually a thing? Maybe not. But
People
is it a
believe
chance
yeah.
that people believe that worked and we're doing it? You know what I mean? So it's like there is a in your defense, it's like with the person who did it, could they have believed that they were committing some type of ritual thing, based in that type of like demonic
Right,
shit? I
right.
mean, I don't know. I mean, it's got to make just as much sense as any other rational reason you could come up with to shoot up a school. I mean, how rational are we going to get here when you're shooting up a school? It's like, no. That theory doesn't make sense.
I mean,
I think he was just working out the numbers and was like, I should shoot up a school.
but you're not wrong
Purely
though, because
business.
I mean, first of all, look at all of the cults that have ever existed, and also like fucking Scientology. Do you know how Scientology started? The guy who came up with it was a science fiction writer, and somebody just took and was like, "Yep, this guy's right. Yep, this is what it is."
Comedy
Nailed it.
about L. Ron
No,
Hubbard.
and
Like, a dark
seriously,
comedy,
and
like,
then
a serious-
Scientology became a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so now that the guy is dead, they can officially say it's a religion, and now they get tax write-offs because of it. That's the only thing to the federal government that makes you like an official religion to get all of that. Is the guy that made it up dead? All right, here you go.
Boom.
Like-
Is he dead?
He's dead. So
I'm gonna make up a religion and kill myself. You guys can thank me later.
I mean, that's what happened with Jonestown.
Is that a Jesus quote?
Jesus Fight Club.
I didn't think he killed
Dude,
himself.
I think Jesus was a Pisces, or
Jesus was a Pisces.
I don't think he was really
Jesus didn't
Capricorn.
Epstein didn't kill himself. Jesus didn't kill
Jesus
himself.
didn't
Jesus
kill
did not
himself.
kill
Hashtag.
himself.
Isn't it that Jesus was a Cancer? Isn't that the theory that like he
Oh.
wasn't?
They said he was
so
born in like spring or
yeah,
summer.
so it's like
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like the timing should have been like he was a Cancer, which makes sense because like water signs and like all that
Baptism.
ass shit.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Jesus being a Capricorn, fuck no.
I'm a guy, I know.
No, and well, that's also, it's been proven that Christianity and Catholicism has just stolen everything from the pagans. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
winter
That's why
solstice.
it's kind of
that's
radical.
why they did it. Well, that's
Yeah.
why Christmas is where it is, and
Yeah.
that's because there was a
Yeah.
big celebration for winter solstice and whatever, and they were like, "How can we piggyback onto this to like get these pagans to be like Christian now?"
Right.
That's like a real thing.
That's why I'm anti St.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day.
Really?
Fuck St. Patrick. He drove the snakes out of Ireland, which is a metaphor for killing the pagan people. He killed Druidism, and but no.
And also,
the Druids weren't really good
the
people.
day the world shut down for COVID was on St. Patrick's Day. So,
Yes,
you know,
True.
yes. So that's
a lot
why
of
I'm
correlation there.
Yeah.
I see you, St. Patrick. You're not slick.
St. Patrick.
but no, but the Catholicism is kind of radical too, because it is like rituals and like,
yeah.
and you drink blood. Like,
I mean, I think that all religions are like all religions, spirituality, whatever. I feel like it's all just kind of the same at the end of the day. Like I can try to say like, oh, I'm pagan and like this and that, but like everyone kind of believes the same things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
or not like we want to admit it, it's all like interchangeable
Right.
stories and different things that were pulled from each other, and everyone kind of has the same base things. Like some of them are more extreme and some of them are like not very good people, but like they try to use it in certain ways, but the underlying tones of everything is very similar. So like I used to like hate religion at all. Like I'd be like, oh, you're fucking stupid if you believe that shit. But like now I'm just like, yeah, it makes fucking sense. Like,
Yeah.
everybody kind of has their own thing that they need for themselves. And like mine is like, universal spirituality, whatever, moon shit, whatever. Where, but like when I say that out loud, like how fucking crazy is that?
I know,
Do you
I
know
know,
what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, I just like bury things in the earth and like do chants and put cinnamon at my door frame. And it's like, that's fucking crazy shit.
Yeah,
Like,
but also
no, that's awesome.
Christianity, all these other religions are just the socially accepted versions of that.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like, they can do it and it's fine. And like, I just go through weird rituals, and like when I think about it, I'm like, and like, because I try to like tell people, and then like when I got into it at first, I was like, I'm gonna convert everyone into this, and then I was like, I am a fucking Christian.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a missionary now.
I'm a witch missionary, and I am here.
Can I call that the name of the podcast? Yes.
I am a witch missionary, and I am just here to make you sacrifice this man under the full moon with me.
I mean, honestly, agree. That's,
hey, I'd rather do that than support the house of pedophilia. So
That's
fair.
Whoa, yeah.
Shots fired.
okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's just human beings. In
oh yeah,
general.
no, that 1,000%. That's just corrupt people being corrupt.
I was gonna say, hey, that's not the Greek Orthodox. And it's like, wait,
oh no, you chopped their balls off first, and then you.
we
molest
didn't even use religion as an excuse. we were just like,
Yeah,
what?
no.
You guys are covering it up?
Oh, we're covering it up now? We're not like telling people?
I thought this was run of the mill here. I didn't realize I had to have an excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, and that's like the weird part that nobody really talks about in the Bible too, is that Mary was probably like 13 or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's like-
I mean, that was normal though. Like, I
Back
will
then,
say,
yeah,
like,
but
breeding
still.
ages have definitely changed. It kind of sounds creepy
yeah.
when I say it that way, but
Yeah, but no,
the
Mating.
mating ages,
Mating
the
ages.
acceptable mating age.
well, back in the day, it was quite literally, if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
back
my
in the
dad
day
used
being
to
like
say that all the time.
1997.
Yeah. So,
Like, yeah, my dad used to say that all the time, like in the case
Oh,
of like
God.
birth control, not in like
Yeah.
that, but he's
Oh,
like, if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
old enough to bleed,
Right,
you're
then
old
that's
enough
smart.
to breed,
Yeah,
and he
that's
would
smart.
like that's what he would use as his reason why, like, if you're gonna fuck, you better tell me.
Right,
Like,
that's smart. Exactly. That's the kind of relationship I want with my
Well,
son.
so tell me more about your daddy issues.
no, like my dad was actually just like afraid he was going to become a grandpa too early.
Yeah.
So he was just like, if you guys are going to do this, like, I'm going to put you on birth control immediately.
Right, that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
naive
pretty
about it.
cool dad
It was-
compared to like
Yeah.
even how I'm sorry if I was like I
Yeah,
would
Greek
not be
Orthodox.
even
Oh,
that
Oh,
open.
a
I'd
lot
be
of
like,
people aren't.
if you're
No.
gonna fuck, you're not. That would be my philosophy
that,
as a
like,
father
I mean,
for my high school daughter.
my
Well,
first
she will anyway.
well, that's the thing. Like my first boyfriend, his mother just handed him a box of condoms.
Yeah.
when it found out we were together, because it's like, you're gonna do it anyway, and that's also why, because in America there's a lot of abstinence-based sex ed, and it's been proven that is the most dangerous thing to do with kids, because you cannot deny like crucial information about something that somebody's inevitably going to experience, and then expect them to be fine.
Also, a great argument for why the drinking age should be lowered and the way we educate drugs should be changed. too.
Absolutely,
I agree.
absolutely. If you look at other European countries, they look at us like we're fucking crazy.
Well, we
like,
are. So.
well, I mean, you're right, but
We are
like,
crazy.
because if you start early, especially in your house, what have you, and you're able to monitor and like learn reasonably,
Yeah.
then later in life you won't go fucking crazy. That's why kids who have like helicopter parents usually end up in bad situations later on, because as soon as they have a little bit of freedom, they go gung-ho, like, I gotta do this before
What's
I
a
can.
helicopter
like-
parent?
A person who like
Like hovers over,
24/7
gotcha.
will not, like, shows
Yeah.
up and sits in class every day with their kid,
monitors
Yeah.
everything they do,
like wipes their ass for them even if they're in
Yeah.
middle school, kind of shit. Like, it's bad.
Well, like, and I can attest to that in that my parents were so open that, like, I didn't. Oh, my earring just fell out. Like, but no,
Getting crazy.
my parents were so open, like, about that stuff. Like, my dad was like, if you're gonna drink, like, just call me and I'll come pick you up. And like, I
Yeah,
just
right.
don't.
Sounds
want
like
you
your dad just
driving.
really wanted to party, right? Your dad was like, "Look, if you're gonna fuck, if you're gonna drink, if you're gonna do drugs, call me."
Right. Like, I want some too. The fuck?
Where am I at?
Yeah,
I thought we were cool.
Right, like they were just like so chill about it, but like then I just didn't do it at all. Like
Right.
I was like straight edge, and I was like, I'm too good to do that stuff. So
Yeah.
like I was like, I didn't do
That was
any
pretty
of
much
that
me,
shit.
yeah.
No, literally
Yeah.
same. Like, I grew up white trash biker family. Everybody did everything, and
Bikers.
like I was straight up edge up until a certain point, and then
Yeah.
I started smoking weed when I was like 17. And at a certain point, I told my mom, she's like, "Look, if that's gonna be your vice, so be it."
Yep.
Because of anything that she'd seen everything. She's like, "If everything you could do, like, please, all I care is that you graduate high school. You don't even need to get straight A's, just graduate." Like, and so like, and even then, like, as into my 20s, it's. Granted, their perspective got a little bit warped at a certain point, but once family, friends, kids were getting like locked up and dying and shit, they were like, "Oh, you just sit at home, smoke weed, and watch Netflix. You're good. It's good."
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's like just how like my dad looked at it in general, where he's like, you know, if you just do what you're gonna do, what's the worst you're really gonna do? If we tell you like don't do this and don't do that, like you're just gonna do it anyway.
Well,
Right.
what happened? Because I noticed that a lot with a lot of my more sheltered friends, where like, you know, if you had the type of parents that were like, weed, like, oh my god, like, you know, if you bought into that whole thing, like, oh, it's gonna make you think you can fly, or like whatever, like stupid tropes they used to have back in the
God.
day. It's like what happens is, like, for instance, my father said to me with drugs and shit, he was like, "Jim, drugs are fun. Like, drugs are fun." Now, my dad and my mom were not drug users. I think maybe they smoked weed once or twice ever. But like, he was very upfront with me to be like, "Look, there's a reason why people fuck up their lives over it, and it's certainly not because it's not fun. Like, clearly it's cool and it's fun to be high and blah blah blah."
Right.
So that actually gives you a more powerful perspective, because what happens is, if you've been lied to all your life by your parents being like, weed is bad and it's gonna make you blah blah blah, and then, you know, inevitably you're gonna be in a situation where somebody's gonna have weed, you're gonna smoke it,
Right.
you're gonna get high, you're gonna start laughing and giggling and be like, wow, my parents were just lying to me. Right. And then those are always the kids that went off the fucking deep end with it because they just kind of were like, well, all that shit was bullshit. Whereas with me, I kind of had that I saw my friends smoking weed and I was like, I'm sure they probably are really having fun, but I was just kind of like, well, I'm not going to get involved with that. Yeah. And same thing. I think I smoked weed for the first time when I was 18, summer after senior year of high school. You know, but at that point I had like I do think that like smoking weed is definitely not bad. I don't personally do it because it makes me super fucking anxious. I do also think that there are age things because every kid that I ever met who was smoking weed in middle school wound up not the greatest off.
Well, it affects your brain.
It's too early. Yeah. And I think almost it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse because it's like I think kids that were the type of kids that grew up in the type of environment where they started smoking weed when they were 11 are also probably the type of kids that were going to wind up fucked up anyway, regardless.
I mean, because there is the mental health aspect of it, you know, at the end of the day. And plus, going along with that, as has been proven with addiction treatment and what have you, throughout the history of humanity, people have always tried to find a way away from reality, to find an escape from reality. And it doesn't just have to be substances. Look at how many adrenaline junkies there are. Look at how many workaholics there are, you know, because it's just something to get you.
Maybe it's not escaping reality. Maybe it's finding your reality or the reality that you want to be in. Maybe not the drug part, but I just mean like the...
I mean, drugs can enhance that type of thing. Like they can enhance your thought process, but... not using them over excessively.
And that's, again, goes into what you were saying of, like, the kids whose parents told them, oh, well, this is bad, blah, 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 and they try weed, and it's like, well, that was bullshit, so then they're offered cocaine. Well, if weed was bullshit, and, you know, it only takes so much with certain things, like opiates, cocaine, what have you, and then all of a sudden you're hooked, and then you need it. Yeah. You know.
Which is why you should, everyone should work in a restaurant for a year. At least. And
that'll give you all the trauma you need.
And that'll give you, it'll totally change your perspective on just humanity. But it also, like, you learn things about, like, with cocaine, like I maybe do coke once a year, you know, if it's randomly comes across my desk, and
does that often happen at work? It just like someone drops it
when this is your desk. It tends to happen a lot
when you're around comics.
But like the thing, even with cocaine, it's like if you go into it, it's kind of like I've always thought. And it's kind of a side tangent. I've always thought cocaine has like a really terrible rap just because it's like I've never been higher in my life than when I've like eaten like a weed gummy. Even when I've done acid, I've done shrooms, not a bunch. I'm not trying to sound like I'm a big druggy guy, but I've done these things.
That's exactly what a big druggy guy would say.
I'm not trying to act like I don't do drugs. I'm just wearing sweatpants for no reason. But like, you know, it's like that's the other thing that bugs me about the weed culture too is with weed people, it's like, don't try to tell me this isn't a fucking thing. Because a lot of big weed guys would be like, nah, man, it's not addictive. I just, you know, my brother made a TikTok the other day where he was talking like, yeah, it's not addictive. I just, you know, when I wake up, I smoke to get hungry to eat breakfast.
I just smoke 24/7.
Yeah, I just smoke all day, every day. And it's like, what if I said that for drinking? I drink every day.
I will say... Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're in a situation much like those who are heavily addicted to other shit. You've got mental health problems, what have you. So you need to escape. On the other end of that, and this can also go into opiates, there are some people who, while they may not realize it, I mean, it is a medication. You know what I mean? Sure. And so, like, for me, I smoke 24/7 because it keeps me from fucking burning the city down. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And my mother has all the fucking medical issues and has been on opiates for almost 20 years now. Now, she like heavy shit like Opana, what have you, but she is noted as the gold star pain patient by her doctors because she doesn't take it to get high. She doesn't like the high that comes with opiates, but she's in so much chronic pain every day from her back and everything. She has to have it. Yeah. Like, and keep in mind, we live on a 5-acre farm, and she does a lot of the upkeep of the shit of taking care of the horses. That's not easy shit to do with a bad back. Yeah. You know what I mean? And but she is a medical addict in that if she doesn't have the opiate, she's still going through withdrawal. Yeah. She's still going through all of that shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there is much like you said, the way drugs and addiction need to be taught in this country, because shit gets a bad rap of like, you don't understand how addiction works and how this shit works.
Yeah.
It's not, you need to have more empathy for these people because you don't
Yeah.
know.
Totally.
And it's one thing, just one bad thing. You fuck up your leg, you fuck up whatever, can lead you down the same path. And a lot of people seem to forget you're just one bad instance away.
Yeah.
And I make jokes about how, like, because a lot of people will treat being fat the same way. It's like, y'all forget you're one bad thing away from looking just like me.
Yeah.
Like
Something happening where they can't move or they can't
Right.
do the things they need to do. Yeah.
Right. Or even like, I don't know if any of you have seen the new Brendan Fraser movie, The Whale. It's
Is it good?
It's fantastic. Definitely a Sundance movie. It's definitely got that whole vibe. But the basic premise of it is this guy went through this traumatic thing, made him so depressed, he basically ate himself to death. You know what I mean? And it just goes into the whole, everything that goes with it. And the main story of it is he's at the end of his life. He wants to reconnect with his daughter before he dies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it goes along that story of like, you're one bad thing away.
Yeah.
One bad thing away. So
Yep.
maybe slow your fucking roll on judging these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I guess the problem just is the pharmaceutical industry or just a general, and also people like the cartels. When really, I think a lot of medication or self-medicated drug use is like herbalism or
Yeah.
a lot of people, but it is. I guess it's the
Or natural light. Brought to you by Natural Light. It's not an addiction. It's beer.
Well, a cured patient is not a profitable patient.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to keep them just sick enough that they're not dead, because that's not
Yeah.
profitable either, at least not to pharma.
Yeah.
We can talk about the funeral industry all day long, because that's just as predatory.
Oh my God.
But fucking, it's not profitable. So,
Well, yeah, look at the pharmaceuticals, with my friend Marissa was telling me about that documentary about the opioid crisis and stuff like that. And I always thought it was just wild because they'll create this drug and then all these people become addicted to it because of what you're talking about, like an instance where they get prescribed it and then you get addicted to it and they're like, oh, I've got an idea. We've got another drug, methadone, Suboxone, whatever it could be, and this will help you get over that other drug. But their solution always involves them making more money.
It's another
It's
drug.
always them making more money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't want to be addicted to that for the rest of your life, so why don't
Yeah.
you instead get addicted to this the rest of your life, so you don't get addicted
Right.
to that for the rest of your life, and
And
you
I-
pay us for the rest of your life.
Now, I do want to note, like, for some people, medication is absolutely necessary, because that same argument can be made for mental health meds. And it's like, mental health meds don't work the same way, where if you have a mental illness, you have a chemical imbalance. So if the medication's working, it means you're balanced. You need to keep taking the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're going to start hearing shit and seeing shit again.
Yeah.
But at the same time, absolutely. Like, yes, some people get so addicted to meth, they need the shit to come down, because otherwise they're going to die without it. It's like being such an alcoholic, you need DTs, or you're just going to fucking...
Do you think that, because that's a good point you bring up with the mental health thing, do you think that we have overly tabooed the idea in today's culture of... Cause this has just been my experience, and you mentioned you have ADD, and I was diagnosed with that, whatever that means, when I was a freshman in high school, and like they tried to put me on like Ritalin or I think it was Ritalin at the time. I think this was like before Adderall wasn't around, but it was still Ritalin was the thing, and like that was one of those things that like colloquially people think of as like a overdiagnosed disease. Or not even, is it a disease? It's a disorder, right? So
Yeah.
like people have it, but I feel like there was a period in I want to say about 10 to 20 years ago where any kid who was acting up, and it's like, well, and the immediate solution was just like, well,
Drug
put them on
'em.
this fucking
Yeah.
thing. So then you see all these kids that are basically methed out constantly, in middle school, elementary school, high school.
I would have been so successful. I wish I was diagnosed
see,
with it. Like,
so-
if
fucks
I'd
with your
gotten
development.
Adderall. Yeah.
Basically, so your question is, do you think shit's overprescribed, what have you, and also the stigmatization of it? It's a mixed bag. I think it comes down to a couple of different things. Number one, I mean, for boys in particular, I feel like young boys, anybody who's hyperactive, oh, well, you've got ADD. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like certain stigmas, yes, certain things were overdiagnosed and overprescribed and what have you. However, there are people who genuinely need it. So like for me, having ADHD, I 1,000% have it, but the thing is, it shows up differently in females. But nobody ever gives a fuck about females when it comes to medical shit. It's like, oh, we'll give you enough to like get you out of our office. You know what I mean? And so there are people who do genuinely need it, and it is it is
Yeah.
very, very helpful, and that's why I'm
we
never
need
like
it to function in this fucking
Well,
hyperactive, like
well,
success-driven
yes.
capitalist
Yeah,
society.
it's like,
I don't
you
think-
probably do need a drug if you're
But-
13 years old and somebody makes you sit in a class for 6.5
Exactly, right,
hours.
right,
It's
but
like,
we-
well,
I
I
mean,
guess
yeah,
I
well,
need
and
a
that's-
drug to
right,
like
yes,
this.
and
in
that's
order
the
to
other
function
thing.
in that, like we're meant to, like be in the woods and wander.
Yeah,
and
'cause this is
hunt and
unnatural.
things and- yeah,
Well,
yeah.
see,
I'm
and that's
normal
like-
for not wanting to be here.
That's part of why I
like-
say it's a mixed bag
Yeah,
because
you shouldn't need it. Yeah.
well, that's the thing. Like the way, especially in the U.S., way things are set up, school is not meant to help you learn anything. It's to teach you to be a compliant worker. You know what I mean? And that doesn't hit for everybody. That doesn't work for everybody. And so, shit needs to be changed because the way the mental health field right now, it's completely fucked to begin with. There's been a mental health crisis in the country since the 80s, and it keeps getting worse every year. There's been a shortage of beds in hospitals since the 80s to the point where, and I've experienced this, they get you in, they're like, here's a therapist, get the fuck out. Like, because they can't give you the care that they need because shit's so fucked up just in the medical system in general.
I'm sorry. We can edit this. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just like I just know a lot of comics who have gone and sought like mental health treatment. But Kaelin, and if you wanted to edit it out, I understand. It's like sorry. It's just like. But are you've never been to therapy? Like you said, like have you ever been to therapy or like? Because I know a lot of your jokes are about like depression and stuff. Like, but like, are you against it for?
So I
like,
went to
spiritual
therapy.
or-
I went to therapy like twice and I like hated the woman who was talking to me and I just kind of I found that like it was hard to find someone that I vibed with, so then I just kind of was like, I don't.
And see,
I'm
and
not
that's
gonna
part
do
of the
this.
problem as well, is because a lot of
therapy,
my friends are like, oh, therapy doesn't work for me. No, you haven't found the right therapist, because therapy works for everybody, whether you have mental health problems or not. It's always good to have a third party to objectively look at shit and be like, well, maybe let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And help reframe your thinking. But again, there's such a shortage of people who do the shit and, what have you. It's so hard, and especially with the way medical shit's set up.
Yeah.
God forbid you find someone that they don't take your insurance, or this, that, or the other. And so it's completely fucked.
And
the
I've
way it
worked a
is.
lot. Like I've found that like in spirituality, it's a lot the same when you're like working to like help yourself essentially, where like you're viewing your own shit from a third party perspective,
Right.
going like, why did this person do this? Why did
Right.
I do this?
Right.
What did my reaction do? And like I have found that has helped me to break down a lot of like traumatic experiences just for myself, even without a third person or like a medically,
Right.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for
Right.
is,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like it's just helped me like revamp my thinking in that way, where I've just sat down and been like, okay, like this person did this to me, but like what did that mean for me? That didn't mean shit for me. Like it wasn't my fault, or maybe it was my fault because maybe I did this,
Right,
and that's
right.
probably why they did that. And
A
like,
lot of times I'm reactionary and I hear something about myself that I don't want to, and I get like all like butthurt about it in the moment, or then I get like a mood swing. But then like 3 days later, I'm like, wait a minute, that person was right, and then I actually apply what they said right into my life, and then it works. But sometimes it's a hard,
and it is just like the willingness to do the work. If you
Yeah,
don't
that-
have,
Yeah. Well, and that's the
Yeah.
other thing. But also I feel like that emotional reaction is, like we were talking about before, that reaction, much how like energies react with each other, what have you, that person put negative energy on you, so then you immediately reacted.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural thing. Now, different things can influence how you react, what have you, but at the end of the day, you can always come back and, fix the shit, what have you.
Yep.
But part of the reason I'm not like complete poo-poo medical, therapy. First of all, therapy has helped me. It's taken me 8 fucking years to get this far. But also, like, there are people who have much more severe mental health issues that are not. It's not autism. It's not depression. It's not ADD. It's schizophrenia. It's shit like that, where maybe we more in spirituality. Maybe they're tapped into realms that we're not. Maybe they're tapped
That's
into
my
other
issue.
shit. But it's
I don't know whether it's a mental illness or whether it's like
but it also falls into question because, like, they say schizophrenia in America is much scarier, much angrier, much what have you,
right.
more than say India, where it's like a lot of laughing, giggling, fun voices, what
yeah,
have
that's
you.
Ganesh
And
talking
that's
to you.
the-
that
And everyone
was
talks
like
in an Indian accent. That's
Yes.
gotta be
The
fun.
energy.
A little bit.
Well, it's the difference in energy, because look at how India handles, like, they have karma,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have this,
Yeah.
that, and the other.
Right.
But at the same time, with having let's say, yeah, you're tapped into this other realm, what have you.
Well, see, that's the thing that I just want to start. I just need to clarify. Like, just because I think I'm tapped into a different realm, I think everybody has the capability. I'm not saying I don't have like a messiah complex. I think everybody can if
they put their energy into it, absolutely.
Believe. And again, I have a bipolar diagnosis and I'm on medication and
but that's why like mediums
I do drugs that probably exacerbated
mediums in theory can talk to dead people, can tap into those other realms, and it's a matter of some people are more tapped into it than others. Yeah. But what I was going to say and end with is like while you may be more tapped into it, let's say you have schizophrenia, it can get very dangerous in this world where nobody else is seeing the shit, no one else is experiencing it. Right, so at a certain point, that medical help makes it so you can at least function and not die. You know what I mean?
I've worked with people before who had mental disorders, and it's hard to differentiate am I talking to a ghost right now, or am I talking to a voice in my head?
But see, the thing is, when I think I'm communicating with the divine higher power that is protecting my energy, my eternal immortal, I feel better. So
well, it's
a placebo, I guess.
There's two things that I'm getting brought to. The first thing is this idea of overgeneralizing anything, and that's why I think it kind of goes back to the drug thing. It's like when you go to drugs and you just take this absolutely no, it's all bad, blah, 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 blah. Then it leads people to kind of have that reaction where it's like, well, I did drugs and I can do coke once a year and not become a fucking addict. And I can.
Do you do coke during the holidays, like the wintertime, because it's snow?
I think the last time it was not too long ago, but it's like I have that.
Sorry, Mom.
I have a relationship with it where I'm just like, okay, if like I said, if it comes across my desk, I'll do it. I'll do like a line.
It is a good winter drug because I get very sweaty.
And it's like
that snow, that ice.
But it's like the same thing. It's like people push this thing. It's like you need therapy. It's like, well, then you go there and you see somebody. You see people that don't vibe with you, and it's like, well, maybe then you kind of look at it. It's like, well, therapy is bullshit or whatever. Which kind of like.
Can I do my therapy commercial? I'm so sorry. Sorry. Or we could edit it, post edit it, or something. If I should just say it. Sorry.
The one thing I was important is that's for therapy to work. You have to vibe with the person.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to, because if you're fixing the brain and what have you, if your brain doesn't vibe, it's not going to work.
You also just can't have this thing like that trust the experts mentality where it's like you have to understand that there are professionals who suck.
Oh God.
There are professional musicians.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, so I play music professionally. There's a lot of guys who play music that aren't very good. There's a lot of guys that you go out to a bar and you see a guy playing music. You're like, can that guy shut the fuck up? It's like just being a thing does not mean you're the best thing. There's doctors. But for every guy who graduated the top of his class, there's a guy who graduated the bare fucking minimum. That's a shitty doctor. There are bad therapists.
That's why medical malpractice is a thing.
Yeah. You can't just go around and thinking all that shit. I guess before we get to your therapy commercial.
Oh, no.
My main qualm was just wondering, it seems to me, for instance, for me, I experience, high levels of anxiety, which is probably why I drink as much as I do. And but I've also noticed that okay, if I get up at a reasonable time of day and I go to the gym and I work out and my mood and everything, my anxiety is reduced, my fucking depression is reduced and stuff like that. So it's these are all tangible real life solutions to if I went to a place that I'm not saying because the other thing you have to consider, because you were mentioning about I think everybody can do it. Look, if you're a guy with cerebral palsy, you can't move your leg, you can't move your fucking leg. If you have Down syndrome, you have Down syndrome. You can't
I'm sorry,
you can't just be I don't have Down syndrome anymore.
Right.
Look at me.
Well,
I'm undowned. I'm up, baby.
Well, and so what you're going into, first of all, physical health very much plays a part in your mental health. When you go to the gym, it releases endorphins, all that other shit. It helps you feel better. But that's also why rounding back of...
And when I don't have my kids, I just roll out of bed past noon in my own garbage. So
I feel that. But that's why it also comes down to the individual of what do you as an individual need?
Yeah.
Because just because I have ADD or ADHD and you have ADHD doesn't mean we need the same shit. We're two different people with two different chemical imbalance needs that fall under this umbrella. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you find the shit that works for you, absolutely stick to that. You know what I mean?
The problem is me going to the gym makes LA Fitness $20 a month, and it makes Pfizer $0 a month.
Well,
and they
yes,
don't like
absolutely.
that. They don't like that at all.
I'm not denying the fact that the medical system
yeah,
is completely unbalanced and fucked up at all. But at the same, I'm just saying, like, there are some people who genuinely need the shit. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm like,
Totally.
yes, it's necessary. Systems need to be changed because they're corrupt. But at the end of the day, find what works for you individually. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Hey, are we doing this therapy commercial?
Oh,
I think this is a good time to drop it.
Yeah.
No, but also like I've been wanting to join Planet Fitness and stuff, but it's like I don't know how to block out the insecurity. And
Well,
other
that
people's
is their,
energy.
like-
I wish I
I-
could just be like on a hamster wheel,
No, I
just
had
like
a
alone. Like
terrible time when I started going to the gym. I would drive to the gym, sit there, see how many people were at the gym, and then I couldn't go inside, and then I would just leave.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Like,
that,
I
like-
have like straight up gym anxiety where I'm like, people are gonna judge me.
Yeah, like how do you blot it? Like
No
out? It's
judgment
like,
zone
yeah,
is
right,
bullshit.
but no judgment zone. That's like yes, and it's $10 a month. That's like
Are you an addict, Jimmy?
yeah.
I always keep back stock.
But yeah, LA like.
Well, I thought Planet Fitness was supposed to be the one that was like judgment-free
Yeah,
zone.
that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. The judgment free though, yeah.
Which for
And-
me,
But
I
it's
know.
not, because they'll even judge the people that are in there. If you're getting too into it, they'll like
Oh, yeah,
sound
no,
off
I was
an
about to
alarm
say,
yeah.
and be like, "How
That's
dare
judgment.
you?" That's fucking judgment.
like when my membership expired in 2011 and I just kept going, and then eventually they called me out and they were like, dude, you haven't paid your membership fee in 6 months. And I was like, I thought this was judgment-free
Yeah,
zone.
yeah.
I didn't realize that I was going to get fucking shamed
Right?
for wanting to work out.
for the fact that I wasn't trying to cough up $10 a
Honestly,
month.
The fucking the love alarm thing. Like, what if you're someone who is like me, who
I
like
know,
you're
it-
so proud of your progress,
Yeah.
and you're finally like, yes, like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, me.
Right.
Like,
But I also don't
happened
feel
to
hot
so
enough
many
for Gold's
people.
Gym or LA
Like,
Fitness.
yeah.
Like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not like attractive enough for those gyms. It's like that's why I like Planet
What does
Fitness.
that mean?
It's like more my
You're not
speed.
attractive enough to
it's
be
like
in a gym?
Because we were like at like we were yesterday at the mall, and there was like a Gold's Gym window, and my kids were like looking through it and like staring, and like I don't know whether they were just like people or whether it's like a gene and males already that like they're like 2
You're like,
years
they were
old.
just being
They were,
fucking
like,
creeps.
Yeah, they were just like staring like at the and
Gotta
like the
watch
girls
that
were like
ass,
in
you
yoga
know?
pants and stuff, and yeah, I was just like
I think it's just
mean,
a matter
I
of
was
like people that are willing to spend that amount a month
Yeah, yeah.
are usually people that are definitely like committed to working out and being
Yeah.
hot.
right.
Like I don't
Or
care
at least
enough about it
being
to spend
healthy.
$100
Yeah,
a
yeah.
month.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I work out at LA Fitness where I have a $20 a month body.
Yeah,
And I'm cool with that.